As he walked past the city's castles, he interrupted his return and climbed the stone ramp that led to the top of the wall. From there, he could see Africa in the distance. Someone had once told him that it was from there the Moors had come to occupy all of Spain.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy. 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 Crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy.
What you looking up for, God? I'm talking to you. Weed smelling like dead bodies, loving a shoot. Baby shorts popping out for government checks. To the honorable moms, no disrespect. I'm not talking about the matriarch, but what the deadbeat, bad, fake comrade, two-faced niggas. Stab you in your back multiple times. Homicides and manslaughter, a friendship on the rise. Watch the gods with pseudo doctors, big shades. I stay bagging with the old school straight face. Around the gods, always have a bag of crystals in demons' faces. Amethyst missiles, dirty Moors, these de factos will make you official. But study is beneficial.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy. Crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy. Crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy. Crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy.
Enslaved by your own, didn't listen to prophet. Now you're living in sin. One food, I can't stop it. You made your bed, lay down. Now you sleep standing. Notwithstanding in a dead status, birth like a bandit. Rather stay dirty instead of turning your card in. Then take your feds off if you're not turning your card in.
Crazy, 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 crazy. The gods must be crazy.
People are afraid to pursue their most important dreams because they feel that they don't deserve them or that they'll be unable to achieve them. Their hearts, become fearful just thinking of loved ones who go away forever, or of moments that could have been good but weren't, or of treasures that might have been found but were forever hidden in the sand.
30 more say the prophet's name won't teach the same universal lessons, keep you slave chains on your brain. Wanting Moorish presidents when that's the prophet. If he was around, whose grand chief's heads he'll off it. Guilty by association, off your head too, for riding with dirty Moors that made a mockery of Drew Ali. Dirty Moors from Canaanland to Cali, used to be LB, now they claim Ali. Keep thinking that they for you, but get ignored. Giving lessons in pieces like a jigsaw. Leave you puzzled, your third eye muzzled, mind smuggled. Know how to say the right thing, keep lies subtle. Read you in with truth bait, lying eyes and truth face. Ego Moors make you carry their suitcase or hold their umbrella. He walks like a fruitcake, prophet watching from the soul plane. The route you take, whose prince will you step in? Demons or genuines, MSTA members or Moorish Americans?
Go ahead,
90 plus years running a fraud, that's why you know every prophet and Ali, but not true. Keeping you away, they have a deep, dirty Moor crew, causing confusion. This dirty Moor crew will tell you partial to have chains on your brain when it should be parcel. A free national name, Drew Ali, got revenge by Moors eyes wide open. Not Morisco world eyes wide open. For her can make those lips clap. Using Frank, Gary, Brother Larry, journalist traps. Homoerotic, stray cat Moors, dissing the mothers, putting blame on active Moors for current gains and others. Fake prophets, heads on the coin, and pictures next to the noble. Today the treasury balance is zero, the total. Study, study, study. When you're finished, study yourself. Dirty Moors, judge your attire and judge your bookshelf. Study, study, study. When you're finished, study the law. When you study no trance by Moorish hymn composers. Study, study, study. When you're finished, study the higher. Dirty Moors cook out death smell from Oscar Mayer. Study, study, study. When you're finished, it's never finished. Dirty Moors selling status correction clinics. 500 per class pass. I'd rather watch Taj and have a clear perspective on the Moorish path. Faculty and student, Moorish Heritage History School. Don't endanger your life with a fool. Yeah. Aha. Ignorance is contagious. Yo, lift your head up, man. I walked into something. The scene, feathers and turbans, 1913, Moorish Jewish temples in Harlem before conscious stardom. You and I ain't parade, godly dressed Moorish as ever, admirals or emirs, catch them in the whirlwind forever. Before Allah, temple of Islam, Gaza lurks nations, knowledge of nationality, freed us from plantations, allegations, alterations, transfer ownership, proclamations. Feathers don't mean Moors, cars, congeries, amputations, playing on emotions of the people asleep mentally. Still asleep, Drew Ali came over a century ago. Although you weren't told, seek and find. Knowledge is water for thought seeds in the mind, soil conscience. If constant will exercise demons that haunting a vessel, attempted to get between your temples, you go from a rotten man to a devil, delving to lower levels and actually love it. Lower self junkies acting like troglodyte monkeys like puppets. Renaissance is unrelated to blacks, check the facts. The Moors are who kept ancestral knowledge intact, expressed in videos, books and raps. What you call a two twins, I had to call a liberty cap. Freedom is everyone's job, but most abandon their posts. Now their children are diagnosed with multiple distinctive hosts. Plus they're given the order to administer dose, looking for salvation from out and not innermost, as souls crunch like cinnamon toast. The devil's still happy, and stay happy. The message to you ignorant folks, written on the pages is the ageless, wisdom of the sages. Ignorance is contagious. Written on the pages is the ageless, wisdom of the sages. Ignorance is contagious. Written on the pages is the ageless, wisdom of the sages. Ignorance is contagious. Ignorance is contagious. Ignorance is contagious. When I listen to Fred Hampton, he wasn't like modern black men, white power for white people. Did he mean the Klansmen? Brown power for brown people. Did he mean the Brahmin? And I guess all the yellow power is for the Chinaman. I get it. Do you? I think not. Brahmin don't call themselves brown, and I don't see yellow anything when I'm in Chinatown. Pleasures up quenching British thirst, honor our prophets that gave prophecies to the likes of Nostradamus. The Nostradamus debuted number 7 on Billboard. Put his finger on the cover, told us we're still Moors. Dougie Fresh, his brother, and Pop knew they're not niggas. Even Crew Quan is a big, you know, from grave diggers. You made the same mistake politicians have, reaping what you sow, talking all that jazz, and still talking. All I see is zombies walking with their eyes lowering their minds in the screen like Max Headroom show. While you worry about FEMA, I keep my enemies closer, and one eye on dirty Moors and the conscious poser. One hand around the straw man's neck and lower self in a headlock. Vixen stabbed in a crop, Sucunius get headshots. Jezebels and jack-o'-lanterns lead them astray because some thought yes about kill cracker, never shoved one. Junkies taking the form of your deceased loved ones, leading you through end of tunnel lights into torture dungeons, using honey traps against vigilance and some instruments. Propaganda say being more is tied to religiousness. When we are indigenous and bound to the continent, FOH with your flattering manipulative compliments. I have my ancestral confidence from their accomplishments, ancestral confidence from their accomplishments. Return to my foreparents' mindset. Keeps me competent, not incompetent. Yes, y'all, it's called the black blunt trash. Acting more Avengers, call that a Hulk Smash. Your conscious spoon sniffling booze and role models. Won't accept facts and just quarrel. No 5 principles, of course, no profit. Facebook and YouTube names they won't have on the docket. They say go fund me, and when you go fund them and get robbed, I say I told you, don't fund them. Still won't listen and call yourself deaf. While most say middle, my path is right hand, the left. Some say your custom things we worship Baphomet. We just Sufis with trance for Muhammad. Offerings of fruit for oil and Oshun. If that won't work, we call in some Shangoons. Summon demons at the full blood and new moons. Mirror of steel blade only escaped by a few coons. And those that escaped are on the run and stay running. Falling off the London Bridge or jumping.
Nobody beats
Nobody beats the Moors.
Nobody beats
Nobody beats the Moors.
Nobody beats
Nobody beats the Moors.
Nobody beats
Nobody beats the Moors. We studied from the masters, we know that stuff we loaded. From Moorish Empire books to hip-hop decoded. Before modern decoders, we studied A.A. Rashid, Conscious Ket Hemet, Basil Lee, Manakim. Moore's water up the table round like Harmon had soul. We got degrees by the pound, stay uplifting humanity. We got Moors near Japan and lands nether, and even Afghanistan. On every Atlantis island, boys, you find them repping Moorish nation, not Turtle Island. Island, when it's really a continent. Anybody saying true are these a myth incompetent, claiming black and Indian nonsense, then begging active Moors to help you out your consequence. We still lend a hand, our first principle love. Realize, not a hand, just a stick in a glove.
Nobody beats
Nobody beats the Moors.
Nobody beats
Nobody beats the Moors.
Nobody beats
Nobody beats the Moors.
Nobody beats
Nobody beats the Moors. On and on till the break of dawn. Many Negro black scholars coined hell pawns. Doing dirty work, keep you deaf and dumb with no love, truth, peace, justice, or freedom. Moors have returned, called the ancient ones. We are the copper tone natives, not the Asian ones. Feathers up in turbans, a lot of station sons. Key man escaped shots from Smith's agent guns, or any quarter broke lands or ceaseless plots. Not getting a slave name, talking to racist cops, violating oaths of office and ethics. Never knew I was a Moor, thought I was synthetic. Stop being skeptic, suddenly apologetic. We shut down the psychological warfare methods. Active Moors check it, see it as a lesson. Muftis will know the strength before the foes test it.
Nobody beats
Nobody beats the Moors.
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 Nobody beats the Moors. Nobody beats the Moors. Nobody beats the Moors. Nobody beats the Moors. Nobody beats the Moors. Nobody beats the Moors. Nobody beats the Moors. Nobody beats the Moors.
You sat down and you attacked the master teacher because you thought you heard something that you didn't hear. That's the first violation. You don't come in. First of all, you come in and you act like you come in peace, but you don't. You got an agenda.
Moors are men upright, independent and fearless. Dogmatized, dirty Moors, tongues cut out, left earless. Cause they never listen. Dirty Moors, keep up your slander. Wu-Tang torture in your ass, hot hangers. Kidnappers, dirty Moor, torture him like Saw. 3D, 0.5 or 1 through 4. Or get it like 5 or 6 with the fez on jigsaw. Leather face in a turban, rip dirty Moors lips off. Disrespecting the mother Ras Mariah Bay. Wrap him up like double crochet, the barbed wire way. Throw him off a bridge or feed him to the piranhas. Yellow journalists more spread nothing but propaganda. Idi Amin Bey, treat the temple like Uganda. Dirty Moors like foreigners, crush the dust like ganja. Not worthy of being Moors, we call them dirty Nehessus. Solomon Seal spell command 72 demons to get you.
This is what the temple guys actually said. That Canaan land is not a part of North America. Canaan land is bigger. Yo, it's ignorant, man. I mean, come on, you're talking about the same land mass. Canaan land is actually bigger than the land mass they know is the corporate United States. Almost twice as big. And if they had any sense, they can just go to Google and they can type in North America and find out North America goes all the way up to green. But they're ignorant. They don't want to do that. They just dealing off emotion.
You might hear horse voices, see frog faces, and hoops with feet. Demons we run with, spit fire with gold wolf teeth. Keep playing, forget back teeth. The Moors are an issue, get into. Maybe a dream visit from Vishnu, a nightmare to never end and always continue. Cold as an igloo, dealing with my trust issues through vigilance. Active Moors are militants, SPLC dirty Moors call that sovereign citizen. Lions reviews, they notice all the MCQs. Benz need gas and fixing, but not enough dues. Pig pen base sell you out for peanuts, claiming that we nuts. For teaching birthright, street level, keeping it beat nuts.
To any members of the MFTA that's out there listening to what I'm saying, please get it through your head. I don't have a problem with the MFTA. I got issues with
Kendrick Lamar, stay surrounded by pheasants. Dirty's guilty of fraud and duly scrutinize their ledgers. Getting proclamations from Morocco, disrespect us. Corporate city only recognize people's court jesters. Handed they back, Moorish puppets and minions. Never get the human rights recognition like Moors near Virginia. Commonwealth, for active Moors knowledge, the Commonwealth. Dirties claim more, but really on the straw man help. Authenticating a birth certificate, that's not significant. Civil little more two status syndicates. In more face, watch them two more status Indians claiming Turtle Island. Our lions, so intricate.
long days and long nights. But this message needed to be heard.
Long days and long nights. Long days and long nights. 360 degrees. 360 degrees. Happy holy day to all the Moors. Peace and love to all the Moors. Want to again shout out all of the Moors, that know they're the indigenous people, they're the original, they're the aboriginal, the autochthonous and all that, but you know that you're Moors. I'm playing around. People playing their stupid stuff. People playing their stupid stuff. Stop playing. Clyde Winters. We are not just Africans. The Black Native Americans. That's a fiction. Yes, we are not just Africans. Why don't you just say what we are then? Are you playing around with Black Native BS? These so-called you guys scholars. We have our scholars. Our scholars got PhDs, they got B's, and they talk about we are Moors. That's our scholars. Our scholars got doctorates relative to Moorish history. You guys scholars are playing games. Remember, it's Black History Month too, so don't even get mad. Because our job as Moors is correct that BS. And all that Black Indian and Black this and Black that falls all under the jurisdiction of Hulk Smash. And show you how your own are selling you out by lying to you. And then you're parading them around like there's some scholars. Well, I'm going to prove to you that they say Black to get the check to put the BS book out. Prove it to you. I don't want to hear any BS from anybody. This is your scholar, Clyde Winters. I don't rep him. I just bought the book because I wanted to see what the hell he's talking about. And these people are playing games with you, right? Ironically, page 7, the irony that this is on page 7 of Clyde Winters' book, telling you about the Black Native Americans. The Black Native American of North America were mainly descendants of the Paleo-Americans and Africans who sailed to America between 12,000 BC to 1492 AD. Why is he using 1492 AD as a reference point for these descendants of Paleo-Americans that the Black Native Americans come from? Why do they use 1492 as a stopping point? Why that date? Why that date?
On page 7.
On page 7 of all the pages that this could be on. Page 7, Clyde Winters. We are not just Africans, the Black Native Americans. Remember, this is not what we're saying. This is what he's saying. We're just elaborating on what he's saying because he wasn't saying jack, playing games with you.
Right.
The reason why Stevie Wonder could see why he used 1492. And he even wrote a song about it.
Yep.
And you're playing? Like these people are your scholars? Black Native Americans? No, he's talking about Moors. How come he didn't just say Moors? If you use anybody in the world, you ask them, hey, if I say 1492, what comes to your mind? Fall of Spain, Granada. Or Christopher Columbus discovering the New World, which is because of Fall of Spain, Granada. So regardless which way you go, you're dealing with Moors if you mention the date 1492, period, point blank. Nothing else matters. How come your black scholars telling you about some Black Native Americans? BNA. BNA. He's telling you the acronym. He's telling you BNA. BNA of America. Black Native American. Remember, this is print. So he put this in print. He had the kahunas to put this in print because he knows your ass is dumb and you don't study. You know you're a dumbass. We'll put, just like the Moors who say, yeah, well, we're going to take this book, put it on our website, and we're going to sell this like ours. And then all the jackasses go buy it from there instead of going to where they got it from. They know people are dumb.
Masonic games.
Oh, don't even bring up Mason now.
They're playing their Masonic boule games. That's what that is.
Right.
When you play the video, you can see them. All buddy, frat looking, ready to do their little step and stop the yard dances. That's all they do. And play these games with the birthright. They 1492 on page 7, grand sheet. I'm sitting here bugged out when you said that. Like,
yo.
What?
Yo.
1492. You know, people don't know. Neither 1492 is 7.
Yeah, but this is how you know that it's not even me. Because it's only because this came today. I was like, oh yeah, this guy's book. And I pulled the book. But I never like read this book like that to know that on page 7 it said that. That was just a pull. That was just a go on the shelf, pull, open. Oh. Oh shit, it's on page 7. Oh my gosh, we're gonna have to say this for class. Hold that page open on the table. Next book. Right? Because people are playing around with you.
They play games.
Playing games with you. Page 7. Telling you about the Moors. Using the date 1492. Right? And then after that, now starts going into talking about Anzac people and Kennewick people and the chromosome of the whatever and the Ushiliwidel people and the Matalawala people and oh look at all these pictures of dark-skinned people as the Africans in America that came over here. Stop lying. You just said 1492 on page 7. Now from then on, you should only be talking about calling people Moors.
That's it.
Either subjugated Moors or active Moors. They play the games, put more on everything, just like we were talking about. Or you're a Black Native American, Creek. Okay, Black Native American Creek. Say, put more in there. Don't just say Black Native American Creek. Put more in there too. Stop playing. This man said 1492. There's nothing else reference for that date that anybody is going to talk about other than Christopher Columbus or the fall of Spain. Now, that's how they're going to talk if you bring up those dates. Nothing else.
It's the same guy who said that we're not Moors, though, on his channel.
when I asked him about making a video about us being Moors, his response back to me was making the video of us not being Moors and us being called the name. He says the name for African Americans is black people. If you look up Clyde Winters, that's the name of the video he put up. The name for the African Americans are black people. That's what he said.
But he knows about 1492 though.
But he knows about 1492 on page 7.
And then, of course, he's going to play his little Mason game ball. I don't know what I was talking about. It just happened to be there. It's a coincidence. They're just whatever like that. As soon as you say coincidence, you should start looking at him funny. And then don't let them dodge and go into some other whatever. Yo, you got the reference point. Page 7, you said the black Native Americans of North America were mainly descendants of the Paleo-Americans and Africans who sailed to America between 12,000 BC to 1492 AD. So those Paleo-Americans and Africans were really Moors. But if they put it like that, then they don't get to put out the book. That's why they killed George G.M. James for his book. Because he told you what happened when Egypt fell. Same thing that Clyde Winters is telling you. Between 12,000 BC to 1492, which is the fall of the Moors, fall of the ancient Egyptian whatever, fall of the ancient Kush whatever, fall of the ancient Sumerian whatever, fall of the ancient Phoenician, fall of the ancient, as far back as you want to go. 1492 is when all that stuff stopped. And somebody else started ruling. Because of a sellout on our side who just gave up the stuff. His mom spit in his face because he's a sellout.
Yep.
And that's on the record, that he got spat in the face by his mom for being a sellout. Caused Granada to fall so some Spain could claim that the Moors were kicked out of that, as if that was a jurisdiction that had anything to do with Moors. You know, Spain, nothing. What's Spain? For the rest of the thing, all he's giving you is Afro-Americans, Black Native Americans, California Black Native Americans, Masoyit, whatever, Wampanoag, whoever. Like, the hell you playing around?
All of this was Moorish first too, before they started changing them up. I was reading a good article the other day about the so-called Native American languages and how they're all Arabic in origin.
Yep.
If you type in on Google, since they love Google, if you type on Google and say if Native Americans and Arabic is the same, there's articles, plenty of articles about it. Plenty of articles about it. Plenty of articles. That's why Columbus, when he came over here with the Moors on the ship, they was the translators. Was they speaking Choctaw or
yeah,
Cherokee, whatever.
yeah, because they weren't speaking no Cherokee or Choctaw language in Grenada.
No.
And it goes back again. The power is having control of the port. The power like that, which is why they had the colonies on the seaboard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because high tide, you're gonna have problems. You better know how to swim. Or have a boat so you can go back where you came from.
Right. Or go home, right?
You know what I mean? That's some stuff like what Trump is on. Just build a wall at the 14 or the 13 colonies and send people back to there. Okay, that's where you have to stay now.
Yep. Put up that 1794 map of Mexico.
Right?
And that's another thing too. If all of that's Mexico, according to the 1794 map, if all of that's Mexico, and then the rest of it looks like it's the 13 colonies, where are these aboriginal indigenous people from? Where y'all from? Oh, our tribe ran. That's Mexico. The Trail of Tears, Oklahoma. That's all. No. That's Mexico. All of that's Mexico. I don't see how you Cherokee, Oklahoma territory, all of that. When Texas and name, no. All of that is Mexico, which comes from a Mexican, which is the Moors. We all know that. The world knows that.
The world knows that.
And it was just in 1794. That's last week. But they use information. They love using. I don't know how they study. They must study to favor them. And then when they cease, because there's no way. Like anytime you're reading and you're studying, you're gonna see the fraud.
Yeah.
You know, like if you calling yourself a tribe and you get the etymology definition of tribe, and we use the online etymology dictionary, but we need to start using our books again, because not because there's anything wrong with that, just because they make it seem like it's wrong to use the online etymology dictionary. So in a regular Oxford etymology dictionary, the word tribe comes from the 13th century, and it applies to the ancient Roman people. Race. It says ancient Roman people, race of people. It says a class or set of persons. That's what it says in the Oxford Etymology Dictionary of tribe. It says the ancient Roman people, race of people, class or set of persons. And we know what persons means in law. It says the next one says a group in the classification of animals.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Oxford Etymology Dictionary. The Oxford Dictionary of the English Etymology. If you look up tribe, that's what it says. Persons. Persons are artificial.
Mm-hmm.
So they're artificial. Fake. But they keep saying tribe. Oh, you're fake. You're fake. You're fake. Every time you say that, by definition, you're saying you're fake. Which is not what I'm saying. This is what the Oxford Etymology Dictionary is saying. Number 2 prestige school in the world right now to this day, and the Moors made this school up in ancient times. And it's still the number 2 prestige school in the world. Their dictionary is saying a tribe is persons, fake, artificial. 13th century is when the word came about. The 13th century. That's the year 1200. Around late 1200 AD. 800 years ago, the word tribe came about. But you, the original people. How? The word tribe is only 800 years old. And it means fake. I just don't get that. Like, what? So what are you? You can't be a tribe. By definition, you can't be a tribe.
Yeah, by definition, no. Not by Moore's opinion of whatever. By definition. That anybody else who has a dictionary, they know too.
I'm like, yo, this is crazy. It really says persons. As soon as I said that, as soon as I read that, I said, come on, man. Like, are y'all really? Persons?
Persons.
And they all know what person means too, because all of these Aboriginal, indigenous, quote unquote guys all started off by watching Taj.
Mm-hmm.
All of them. All of them did. So they know what persons means. We don't even really got to go into it. They all started off by watching Taj. I've never even heard of these Aboriginal, indigenous, auto-talkingist people until a couple months ago. I've never heard of these people, ever. Ever. They started, Dan Calloway got all of y'all going crazy. Going crazy right now. And then they don't even argue. These Aboriginal, indigenous people, they're not even giving no facts. It's just that when they get mad, right.
Hold that thought. I just wanted to, because brother RH said something in the chat that they love the brands and let the dead bury the dead. Right? And then what I was gonna say was, well, we're the morticians. We're the morticians. MOR, morticians, that's us. So some of us will have to do some dead burying, because they're not going to bury their own. They're going to keep walking around like they're zombies.
Yep.
So we'll help bury them. That's how we tell Moors. Make sure you go stay. Don't get caught up or whatever. Don't get caught up. We have certain work that we do. Right? We got certain work that we just have to do. So don't worry. You do your whatever that is that's supposed to be done. Certain stuff, don't even worry. You just chill in the chat, watch for the whoever's, and be a chat mufti while you get some jokes on Holy Day.
Right. Because these people, all of these people know the elders, not elders, the guy, what's his name? Dr. Clyde, what's his name?
Oh, Clyde Winters?
Talking about Clyde Winters.
Yeah.
Clyde Winters, all of them know we are Moors. Yeah. All of them know. Okay, now back to the dude, though. Back to the Aboriginal indigenous people who don't even argue with no type of facts, they just get mad and just start saying things. Like, it doesn't matter what we say. What we say. I remember one more was giving an example with, like, said in the chat, oh, you can tell these Moors anything and they'll disagree with you. He could be standing right in front of you and you tell him he's standing there and he'll be like, oh, no, I'm not. And I was like, that's exactly what they do. They'll argue the fact that they're not even standing in front of you. They'll argue that. Like, there's nothing, people like that, like, come on. The Sultan, the Sultan of Granada, come on, look how he sold out Granada and took the check. You think these people won't sell out? These are the same people. Of course they will. That's why I'll be like, man, look, like as soon as they be like, oh, you know, they don't want to tell the truth because they don't want to lose their checks that they get paid for selling the Negro colored black and stuff like that. That's the guy of Granada getting spit on by his mom because he sold Granada. He took the check. It's the same thing. Nothing's different. Same exact thing going on. Y'all taking the check. We just need a bunch of mothers like that from back in the day to be spitting on these sellouts. Right. Straight. Instead of taking the check along with them. Like, well, you know, my nails is done and my hair is done, so we good. No. You're not good. You're not good. You selling out too. You selling your babies out, selling them out. They're gonna grow up and want to be just like mommy and daddy. Yep. Instead of being greater than mommy and daddy. Right. They love to sell out. They loved it. But for the materialistic things, the lower self, they love to stay in the lower self. It's all materialistic things, or for the, oh, look at me, you know, for the views. You know, I'm the guy to bring us out of what? You putting us back into slavery. Right back into slavery. Indigenous, I don't see them. They'll be like, oh, I agree with everything. One of the Moors said it. One of the guys said it in the chat. He agreed with everything the Moor said. Just that I'm not saying I'm a Moor. I was like, I see that. It's like, what is that? Yeah. I'm going to the beginning of them right now so you can see. So again, and all of this, right? All of this. Think about. Okay, especially with us, right? You know that on our channel, people get it if they slip. Yep. When they come with some faulty scholarship, and then they're talking BS about Moors, or we people who you never heard of, we put on blast. Just because. Never have you seen this. Never have you seen this. Never have you heard of these people. These are pop-up scholars. These are the scholars that are like the ads or whatever that just pop up that you always want to close and you can't close them. Because it's a virus. Just right there. Right. Anytime you click it, another pop-up comes up. You clicking the X button, and another pop-up is coming up. Yeah, these are pop-up scholars. So the Moor told them 12 hours ago, adjectives can't have freedom. You're like, what are you talking about freedom? Adjectives can't have freedom. That was from one of the
bills that we did with Jay the Moor.
Yep.
The indigenous Moor. Who said out of his Moor mouth that, yeah, mentally I'm a Moor. All right. You're already there then.
Absolutely.
You're already there then. If you're a Moor in your mind, then hey, forget papers and cards. You're there.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? Adjectives can't have freedom. We do the vibe with Jay. Yeah. We do the vibe with Jay. And now people are mad. Why are you mad? Don't get mad. Do like Jay and get down with what's good. We're Moors. Why don't you do like Brother Jay and get down with the fact that we're Moors opposed to fighting it? Now, people and folks nation of Chicago, they're talking crazy. Arab means Westerner. Okay, well, America is in the West. If Arab means Westerner and the West is the Americas, which is where the Moors are, then that means Arabs are Moors. We talk about Maghreb and G is silent and take off the M and Arabia and all that stuff. What are you talking about? And that's scholarship. Everybody knows over here is the West. So if an Arab told you that Arab means Westerner, then why are you playing? And then you're talking crazy about because we're in Canaanland, we don't know anything that's going on anywhere because we're in Canaanland. What the hell are you talking about? Because you're talking about people and folks nation and all this stuff like that and want to bring up that you're black peace stones and all that stuff. But black peace stones weren't playing some fake BS. When we go to Natalie Moore and Lance Williams, the almighty Black Peace Stone Nation, they have a fez on the cover. So you weren't Black Peace Stones, you were Moors. Stop playing games. You're no different than the Aboriginal indigenous people. Now you're going to say you're some Black Peace Stone Nation. When Jeff Fort said Chief Malik L. If he's Chief Malik L, if he's Chief Malik L, and I know because I got a letter from him. Because when I found out that he was actually bringing gangbangers into know about your nationality and birthright, proclaim your nationality, and start living by the 5 principles and all that, and that he knew about Noble Drew Ali and all that, this really wasn't some gang, whatever. I said, that's political prisoner. I'm going to write him. And got a letter back. So I know how real it is. You know, distance have anything to do with anything. I got a letter from the chief myself to know what's up. Not playing with me. Might play with online people who don't study. We're not playing around with me. Tell me about some YouTube page means you're peace stone. Peace stones are Moors. I had contact with Chief myself in Supermax right now. And he put it on the record that he's L. And recognized Moor Science Temple in Canaanland and all of that. It's not some gang, whatever. And you know that that's what's up. Nationality and birthrights is going to stop the killings in Chicago. We don't want to do that. People want to play black. Black, Negro, colored. You know, play indigenous and play all these games. Almighty Black Peace Stone Nation.
Some brothers is on it.
Yo. Transition. Transition. A former El Ruckin general described his life in the organization in his book, Epitome of Courage. Henry Toomba Harris. Born and raised in Milwaukee, Harris joined the Black Stone Rangers just as the group was transitioning to the El Ruckin MSTA era. Harris writes that he was invited into the house where the Fort family stayed in Milwaukee. There was a brief meet and greet before Jeff gave a speech titled Chief Malik's Lesson. The eloquent lecture touched upon the new religious movement, but most of the Milwaukee membership didn't understand what angle Malik was coming from. Just get a sip. So this is foundation transitioning from gang BS to Moorish. Not throwing away everything, but transitioning. Just like Brother Jay did. Transition from indigenous to indigenous Moor. Harris describes the first day he spent at Stone's headquarters in Milwaukee in 1976. As he approached the structure, it looked like an old abandoned building. Once inside, however, Harris realized that looks were deceiving and his thoughts quickly changed. The place was huge and freshly painted. A dance hall and kitchen were in the rear. A small book-lined study lined the north corridor. Books by Black authors he's never read lines on shelves. Richard Wright, Marcus Garvey, Timothy Drew, Malcolm X, Maurice Bishop, J.A. Rogers, Ishmael Reed. Now, we have to ask the Moors who are in the Moor Science Temple or whatever that are foundation, and they claim that they're the supreme whatever. Where's Timothy Drew's book that he wrote? Because according to right here, the El Ruckins, the Black Pea Stone Rangers, in their headquarters had a bookshelf with a book by Timothy Drew. So we want y'all to just bring that forward so we can see what the hell's going on here. Because I never heard ever that there was a book that Timothy Drew wrote. And then he was named among the greats.
Okay, another reason why they called him Professor Drew.
Mm-hmm. Which gives that a whole different perspective now.
Yeah.
If Timothy Drew had a book, and we know that he was Professor Drew, then a lot more went down with the sellout than we even think. We think we knew something went down with the sellout. Now you're talking about Timothy Drew's books are missing now? Which again, if he was an Egyptian adept student, we probably want to read what he had.
Mm. I wonder how long your dissertation has to be to become an Egyptian adept.
Oh, speaking about Egyptian adept, we'll just go to George G.M. James. George G.M. James, who they assassinated for writing his book, Stolen Legacy. Because
Masonic.
He told you about the Moors. Masonic assassination.
Ear to ear, ripped his, and cut his tongue out. Did him beautiful. For telling this information.
Yep. This is why. This is why. Go ahead, Mark.
Because I like to go over the brother before you go in.
Yeah, Mark, go ahead. For
before
sure.
The brother, he published the book. He wrote the book in the 50s. Or something like, it was either like the 40s or the 50s. And then it didn't come out to the 60s. He was on the run. But not, he was on the run, but not really because the book wasn't out yet. He was looking for a place where he can be safe. Like, okay, I'm safe here. And he went to like one of the islands or something like that, or like South America or something. And he thought he was good. And then he let the book out. And they still found him and gave him the Masonic death. Cut him from ear to ear, from underneath his throat, from ear to ear, and cut his tongue out. Masonic death. For what the Grand Sheik is about to read right now. This is why everything he went through. His brother was running for years. He was running. He ran for years before he published the book. And then he was like, okay, I'll publish it now. And they still found him and assassinated him. Well, while other scholars are out here playing these games, Negro-colored black games, this brother here, George G.M. James, put his life on the line.
Took one for the team. Right? But these people are going to tell you about some black Native Americans.
People out here getting killed.
Like, you know how crazy it is that he's going to say, you know what, I'm going to put the book out. Because like they're not doing the Masonic ritual from far. Like they would have had him in their possession to do that.
Yep.
He didn't get what Malcolm got or Martin got or whatever. He got the up close and personal.
Yep. another one of his own snitched on him and told where he was at. Because he will only tell his deepest and closest people where he was at.
Yep.
And that's who probably did the ritual assassination.
Even that.
The one who he thought was, okay, I can trust this one. No. Nope. The whole time. He was the one.
Yep.
George G.M. James.
Yeah, it's.
He let it all out in that book.
Yeah. He dropped the hammer on him.
And there's scholars who shunned him.
Yeah.
In their book, Dr. Ivan shunned him. Made it seem like he was over exaggerating about not giving the Greeks zero credit. Dr. Ivan Sertaneman thinks that was a little too harsh. I said, nah, that's crazy, Dr. Ivan. But your own, like I could see a European saying it, but his own said that's his brother.
But remember, Ivan was under it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was compromised. He was compromised too.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That was probably one of those ones where, they told him you have to sell him out if you're a scholar.
Yep.
Or you lose everything.
Yeah, throw him under the bus.
You got to throw him under the bus or you lose everything. Because we already know it came out later again from the master teacher that they were going after him for they came after Columbus. They came before Columbus.
Yep.
Right? They were going after him for that book.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And I think him just not being a Mason is probably what saved him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he went just as nuts and they came before Columbus.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You can't talk about that stuff you're finding.
Oh, he said it. Dr. Ivan said it in his speech. And the way it's the tone he said it. He goes, oh, when he talks about the Moors, he goes, oh, let's not talk about the Moors. Because everybody starts getting pants all bundled up and adjusting in their seat. Yep. Let's not talk about the Moors.
Let's not talk about
People start writing crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. We're not Moors. The Moors were the biggest race traders ever.
Yeah, they go nuts in the comments.
The Moors were from North Africa. The Moors are Africans. The Moors were any and everything. The Moors were pale Arabs. I remember that one. That's crazy.
Yeah. Honors to the master teacher, George G.M. James, taking one for the team for putting this out. During the Persian, Greek, and Roman invasions, large numbers of Egyptians fled not only to the desert and mountain regions, but also to adjacent lands in Africa, Arabia, and Asia Minor, where they lived and secretly developed the teachings which belonged to their mystery system. So the Egyptians fled in all directions. And whatever they had, they secretly developed those teachings. This is after the fall of Egypt now. In the 8th century, the Moors, natives of Mauritania in North Africa, invaded Spain and took with them the Egyptian culture which they had preserved. Knowledge in the ancient days was centralized. It belonged to a common parent and system. The wisdom teachings or mysteries of Egypt, which the Greeks used to call Sophia. Right, so he's telling you, all that stuff you hear them talk about Greek history and they're talking about some Greek whatever named Sophia, that really wasn't a lady. That was ancient Egyptian knowledge. And Zeus wasn't really a god of whatever. That was some ancient whatever knowledge. And whoever else was, that wasn't really somebody. That was, right? As such, the people of North Africa were the neighbors of the Egyptians and became the custodians of Egyptian culture, which they spread through considerable portions of Africa, Asia Minor, and Europe. During their occupation of Spain, the Moors displayed with considerable credit the grandeur of African culture and civilization. So after so-called Egypt, when that fell and got taken over by the Persians and the Greeks and the Romans and anybody else who came later, it was the Moors that inherited everything from them. The ancient Egyptians, that all these people who are about today saying that they're doing ancient Kemetic yoga and all this stuff, talking about some ancient Egypt that fell. And they should really be saying that they're Moors. Moorish yoga. Well, Kemetic what? Kemet fell. Egypt fell. Kush fell. All that stuff fell. What do you mean you're talking about you're that today? But all those things were transferred to people later. It's not a fiction that they assassinated him. He told a lot in this book, but this right here, that M word that we keep telling people, that's the secret.
Yeah.
That's the secret.
Yeah. Real quick, Green Sheet. Just to prove again how it was his own. He was Prince Hall. So the Masonic death had to have been his own. But there's no Europeans that killed George G.M. James. It was Moors that killed George G.M. James. It wasn't no Europeans that killed El Hajj. It was Moors that killed El Hajj. It wasn't no Europeans that killed the Prophet. It was Moors that killed the Prophet. Like, it's Moors doing this under the guise of these other brand names. But those was Moors. Dirty Moors. And they all go by these, but that goes right back. Like you said the other day, history repeats itself when you don't learn your lesson.
Straight.
And it's we keep repeating itself. You guys keep wanting to call yourselves and go by something somebody else called you. They branded these people Moriscos. They went with it. They kicked them all out. They kicked them all out. They thought they were gonna get something because they took on the other brand. They took on that brand. Nope, nothing. Kicked out. You think you're gonna get a benefit because you called yourself Indian? They put you right on the reservation.
There's your benefit. There's the benefit. There you go on the reservation.
Yep. And the so-called black Indians, whatever, that not on the reservation, you still on the reservation? The projects is reservations. The hood is the reservations. That's the same thing. If you look it up in a dictionary of a reservation, that's what you live on. That's what you live on. Reservation don't mean where Indians live at. It don't mean that. Minorities can live on reservations.
Mm-hmm. Shit. Those are who should live on the reservations.
Yeah.
The minorities. You want to be a minority, don't get mad. You want to be a minority. And again, with this thing about because we're in Canaanland, we don't know what's going on or whatever. This land has never been a part of the United States of America. Is this the same land that Abraham Lincoln spoke of returning to the Moors after slavery? Yes, he called it Egypt of the West and or Central America, the land between the Rockies and the Allegheny Mountains, from the Gulf of Mexico up into Canada and on both sides of the Mississippi. Nobujwali stated the Moors were living up and down the Mississippi River before the European man came here to Northwest Amexem, Africa, later to be named America. The Louisiana proper, so-called Louisiana Purchase, consists of what states? Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Minnesota, Nebraska, Colorado, Kansas, Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, Utah, New Mexico, and portions of even the so-called 13 colonies or the original 13 states up into Canada. The Washita governs 15 million acres. Now, how come Aboriginal Indigenous people don't talk about that?
How many acres?
15 million.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, but they won't talk about that because Washita are Moors.
Right.
And all they're about is playing games with you.
Yep.
They were all about playing games with you.
And it goes back to why they don't argue with Dr. Aline Bay.
Yeah.
He's the prince of the Washita. Aboriginal, indigenous, auto talking this stuff. They don't argue with him. He's the prince. He's a Moor.
You see, I see Bay on his stuff, and he's Washita.
Oh yeah, quick fast. And their empress, she wears the fez.
Yep.
She knows she's a Moor. Only people playing these games is these barren, straight Indian people. That's probably why they don't want to be Moors. But even if you say you're from the barren strait, Asia, the Moroccan Empire extended to Asia. So even if you came from there, you were Moor.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, let me add on.
Yeah, Moor, go ahead, Moor.
Yeah. In the book, We Are All Moors. In the book, We Are All Moors, Anor Majid, page 66. It says, in his book, the La Herencia Medieval de Mexico, Louis Weckman makes the connection between Moor and Indian in the eye of the conquistador unambiguous. He writes, the Annamite friars refer to the inhabitants of New Spain as, quote, these Moors, period. That's what it says. It says, the Annamite friars refer to the inhabitants of New Spain as these Moors. Okay? It says, in the initial years in New Spain, the term mosque was used to name the indigenous places of worship, and the term alifaki to refer to the indigenous priests. So these so-called Indian people, when the conquistadors came here, they saw a mosque.
You know what?
And
you have to read that over again.
Okay.
You gotta read that one again. Because yeah. From the top part.
Right.
Yeah.
In the book La Herencia Medieval de Mexico. So we talking about Mexico. New Spain is Mexico. Okay? Now again, okay, Green Sheet, if you can just Google the 1794 map of Mexico, so
yeah, I'm about to go right there.
So I want them to see what they talking about right now.
Yeah, I'm going there. Yeah.
Okay. You get this up?
Yeah.
All right. In the book La Herencia Medieval de Mexico, because New Spain, so-called New Spain, was all of Mexico. So all of that we're looking at right now, that's all so-called New Spain, but that's Mexico. That's all Mexico. That's the map, 1794 map of Mexico. That will be all New Spain. All of that. All of that. All of that. Only thing is left is the 13 colonies over there. And I think like Georgia and the Carolinas, I think, is the last things that's left.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is Mexico. All the way up to Canada, so-called Canada. All of that. All of that. And Canada is bigger than North America. But Mexico continues to all the way up there. So when the conquistadors came here, they're talking about all of this area here, that map, 1794. But you got to remember, the conquistadors came here in the 1500s. So actually, on that map, the 13 colonies didn't even exist yet. When the conquistadors got here, there was no such thing as the 13 colonies. No such thing. So all of that is Mexico. That goes back to a Mexican. So we just wanted to paint that picture, because the 13 colonies wouldn't even exist when the conquistadors got here. So it continues. In the book La Herencia Medieval Mexico, it states from Louis Weckman, the Annamite friars refer to the inhabitants of New Spain as these Moors. Period. The next sentence says, like, okay, like that's major. You know what I mean? Like that's major.
One more time.
Okay?
Oh yeah, what
That's
page?
Page 66.
What page, so we can reference it together.
Page 66. It says the Annamite friars refer to the inhabitants of Hispaniola, which is New Spain, as, quote, these Moors. In the initial years in New Spain, which is all what we're looking at, which is Mexico, all of that map, that map right there, 1794, there was, according to Honor Majid, the term mosque was used to name the indigenous places of worship. So all in that area right there was mosque. And the conquistadors called them mosques because they look like, and these people are from Granada. We see the Granada Mosque over there. To this day, we see those. We see them. So when they came here, those are the same mosques that they see, the ones that we see today. When they came here, they saw those mosques here. Yeah. That's why they would immediately name them mosques. They wouldn't call them nothing else different. The same mosque, because those mosques are still standing over there in Granada. They're still standing there. When they came here, they saw mosques, not teepees. Mosques. The ones that we see over there in Granada now to this day. It says that the places of worship, okay, for the name of the indigenous places of worship, and the term al-Faqih was to refer to the indigenous priests. Now, if you go look up the word al-Faqih, A-L-F-A-Q-U-I, it got many definitions. Some of them mean a high doctor. Some of them means like a shaman. It's all different crazy type of definitions for the word al-Faqih, but the word is an Arabic word. It starts with al, A-L. And it continues, it says, Martin Vasquez calls Colula a Moorish pueblo. This is all in Mexico. It says the Casablanca had the Castil Blanco had 14 mosques or places of worship, and many more existed in Tlaxcala and Teotihuacan. I forgot how to say that part.
Teotihuacan.
Right. Where
that
where Montezuma was from.
Yeah.
So when the conquistadors came here and they ran into Montezuma, they saw mosques, 14 of them. To be exact, they counted them. They saw 14 mosques. The conquistadors were not surprised at finding in New Galicia, as mentioned in the second anonymous report, quote, women branded, that is, marked with a branded iron, on the chin like a Moorish woman. This is what they're finding here. Here. Again, you see the map? 17. You see the map? That map is crazy. This is what they're finding here. This is what they're finding here. Right? Moorish women. Nor at fight. No, okay. More on the chin like Moorish women. Nor at finding, quote, mosque in Florida. So they also saw mosque in Florida. Which Florida is the land of the flowers. And they found more mosques in Florida. But all of that map right there, 17, what's the first line? The Annamite friars referred to the inhabitants of New Spain, which is Mexico, all of that map, as, quote, these Moors. This was in the 1500s. These people out here talking about they ain't seen no documentation of Moors going past the 1800s. I'm like, what are you talking about? That doesn't even make sense. That doesn't even make any sense.
Okay, check this one. Page 67. The Pueblo Indians of New Mexico are compared to the Moors, discovering the error of their ways and miraculously seeing the light of Christian truth. The poem is also a propaganda piece. The new conquistadors are compared to the brave Spaniards who hurled themselves into the famous land of the Barbary to capture the dispersed Moors. The Moor was ever present, as noisy plays make use of the harquebuses were staged during the ornate expedition to terrify the natives. The staged defeat of the Moor was thus a warning to natives. It was a dramatic preemptive strike. The scepter of the Moor haunted the Iberian New World. The Iberian New World. As the home country, the Moor, like the Jew, the heretic, and even the Lutheran, was a disruptive element that had to be kept away from Spain's overseas bonanza.
Green sheet.
Yeah, more.
If you that same paragraph you reading right there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It says, where that number 23 is at, like a couple lines down, it says in 1501, Muslims, Jews, heretics, in recent commercials were forbidden entry into America. Only Negro slaves or other Negro slaves who have been born in the possession of our native Christian subjects were granted an exception. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
In 1501, Moors were forbidden entry into America? How? Wait a minute. How are you forbidden? So you were already coming here.
Right.
But that's 1501. That's 9 years before Columbus discovered America. You're forbidden to come here 9 years before.
After.
But you were. Huh?
After. That's 1501.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you were coming here. But you were already coming here. Because they said that you were forbidden to come here. Since when? How long were you coming here?
And then we have to also look at it from, with that being still early in their reign.
Right.
Those are things that were probably on paper.
Mm-hmm.
The whole manifest destiny.
Oh yeah.
That they just put it in the ethers, and that's what it is. Because it's gonna stand as far as their history when they tell their little story 500 years from now or whatever. You know, it'll be that, yeah, they had people not being able to come here when they have no power to do that. They don't even have Coast Guard like they got today. How are they stopping somebody from coming to America? Only way they could do that is if they had people who look like the people trying to get over here playing the Coast Guard.
Yep.
And checking everybody.
Yep.
But there's no way they were stopping the quote-unquote conversos or forbidding them entry into a jurisdiction that they don't even have complete jurisdiction in. In 1501, they don't have no superior jurisdiction here.
Nope. That's part of the, and you know, that's like you said, Moore is teaching these Europeans how to do this too, because this was an edict that was just put out there in the ethers, because like you said, they don't have no jurisdiction to be writing any of this, and this is around the time too, because when it continues saying, Negro slaves who have been born in the possessions of our native Christian subjects were granted an exception, which is how African converts to Catholicism, known at the time as Latinos, arrived in the New World. See, that was one of their edicts that they just signed.
Yeah.
You know, and one of them popes signed one of them edicts that just put it out there in the ethers. Just because at this time, just because we don't know the power of words now, don't mean that they didn't at that time. They knew the power of those words. Just by putting that out there.
Yep.
Because the next line he says it. Muslims first arrived, talking about the New World. Muslims first arrived as either as slaves, merchants, or sailors. But we also know that the slaves was POWs, because we can't be slaves. But you was either coming over here as merchants or sailors. Back and forth by then too. But still again.
Yeah.
They don't have the jurisdiction to be writing those edicts to be banning Moors from coming back home.
And again, is
that out there in the ether.
Yeah, and again, is that thing also with, you know, they can say whatever in the edict, but that's not really what it was. Because they didn't have control of the seaboard going all the way around. Like, so how are they stopping people? Well, they're not able to man the fort. They will get overrun quick, fast. And then, as you were mentioning too, the Ladino, 100 years after that, Matthew da Costa was the so-called first whatever black known to have reached Canada. And they always talk about he's a free black. They already know that he's a Moor. There's no such thing as no free black. And if you check into him deep enough, they'll tell you that, yeah, he was a Ladino Moor. He was a Ladino Moor. Don't let them play you.
Nope. I still want to know where if this is Morocco, where are they Aboriginal indigenous to?
Mm-hmm.
That's my question.
Where are they Aboriginal and indigenous to? Yeah.
Because America, the word America is not an ancient word. So they can't say, oh, we're Aboriginal indigenous to America, right? America doesn't go past the year 1500. That's, again, Europeans. Eurocentric thinking. When they got maps that predate 1500, America not on the map. You got Tamari. That predate 1500. You can check the Pyrenees map. Predate. America ain't on there. Those is modern. That's a modern name. That's why it's a corruption of our Moroccan.
Everything has an origin. What's that? Yep. Yeah, that map though is crazy.
That's all Mexico. They found mosques all up and down that. Fakis, which are high priests or whatnot, all up in the friars said it when they first got here. They referred to inhabitants here as Moors, as those Moors, kind of like these people. Could it be? Oh, those Moors. That's exactly how they sound like the friars. Conquistadors. Mad, just mad. Oh, like, oh, they're here again. Yep. They're all over the place.
Yep. Mad. Yeah, they pop up. They pop up.
Tell me they part of some tribe. They tribe as persons.
Or they tell you that aboriginal, that's an adjective.
Right. Which is, oh yeah. Which aboriginal, the adjective, is derived in okay, again. I'm coming out of the Oxford Thesaurus in English dictionary. Right? It talks about aboriginal being an adjective, but then it says it's derived from aborigine. Then when you look up aborigine is a noun. Aborigine is a French word, so it might be aborigine or whatever. But aborigine is a French word, which is a noun, and it refers to people from Australia. But the inhabitants or the first people or whatnot, dark-skinned people over there in Australia, they don't call themselves aborigines. That's not the term what they call themselves. The colonizer calls them aborigine. And again, aboriginal comes from the French word aborigine in the dictionary, which refers to people from Australia who themselves don't call themselves aborigine.
Mm-hmm.
The colonizer calls them that. So you calling yourself aboriginal, which comes from aborigine, colonizer, like all in the dictionary. All you had to do was look it up. All of those are ambiguous terms. Modern. We just refer, all you had to do was just say it. Oh, I'm a Moor. And it describes everything you want it to be. The first person on earth, the highest, all you had to do is just say I'm a Moor. But now you're using ambiguous terms that have nothing to do with nothing. And it's putting you back into colored. All in the dictionary. I'm like, what? Seer said it. He said, you shouldn't be calling yourself an aborigine. I said, okay.
Oh, let's just go to the Duke quick fast. Since we got, let's get the Duke out there. Islam to the Duke.
As Muslims are are the only ones that are functioning in our proper capacity, because we're not trying to annex ourselves to anybody else's culture. They want you to think that if you claim yourself to be a Moor or Moorish American, then that means all of the what they call now or Tonkin or Aboriginal, which you shouldn't be using that word anyway, but whatever. They want you to believe that when you claim to be a Moor or Moorish American, now all of a sudden, all of that Chata or Tasalaki or Ananuia or it's another one, Sisiskia, or Pahatawan. So like when you become a Moorish American, like none of that stuff exists no more. So now all of that blood that was in you, that's from those peoples that was already here, all of a sudden when you say that you are more Moorish American, you know, that no longer applies to you. This is the mind control stuff that they try to throw into the game because they still trying to run away from the obvious truth. The obvious truth is all of the Indian treaties that your ancestors signed with these crackers, they done abrogated. None of those treaties are basically in effect now. The only way they can be brought back into effect is because of your nationality. Treaties are based on people that have nationalities, not tribal affiliations. Your tribal affiliation is your name. But when it comes to actually who was having political and jurisdictional sway over here, that was the Moors, of the Moorish Americans. Look up Muhammad the First. Look up Muhammad the Second. Look up the expansion of what we did. Look at how they look at the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Look at the treaty that the crackers did with that the devils did with the Delaware Moors. These are the treaties that's still in effect. These are the treaties that's still dealing with it. But if y'all are dealing, in order to understand what happened, you got to understand that historically, all of these so-called European nations or whatever started out as melanated first. This Caucasian male did not come over here and steal everything from you by himself. That did not happen. But again, I don't want to act like I'm trying to convince people of anything. What I'm really trying to say is, in order for you to have standing in anything, you have to have a nationality. On this planet, at least. And
you have to have a nationality. You can play all the BS that you want to play.
Mm-hmm.
But all that stuff is falling on deaf ears because just like they don't respect black people, they don't respect black Indians and black indigenous whatever either. They don't respect it. Either you're going to be your aboriginal, indigenous, Moorish self or don't be. You remain stateless because that's what ultimately you are.
I said it the best, man. He said it the best. Only people who had sway over here was the Moors. Only way any of them treaties is going to work is if you have a nationality. And only way, and they know if they get a nationality, they got to proclaim it as a Moor. And that's the problem. They rather play tribal games and not proclaim their nationality.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're gonna play their little game. But then, you know, we have brother Huang Bei. He's claiming more. He's quote unquote Asian. He's not claiming some fiction. He's not claiming some stuff even where he came from.
Nope.
He's saying, oh, if I'm in America, I'm riding with the Moors. Because that's who has sway over here. The Moors. There's a lot more. You have any closing remarks? More they want than that.
Dr. Ben said he was a Moor.
Yep.
You know, argue with Dr. Ben. Nobody has said Dr. Ben was wrong about saying that we were calling ourselves Moors. Why? Like, they just keep on playing the same old game, ignoring everything that we present and just getting mad.
Yep, getting mad. Getting mad. Islam called the chat Moors and all the Moors worldwide. the soon to see this Moors. Islam to all.
Wow.
We give thanks for another holy day to be with the Moors. Islam to all.
Yeah.
Don't forget Canaanland Moors. We got our town hall meeting this Sunday at the temple, 12 noon. And don't forget 16th of February, we'll be out in Ottawa jurisdiction doing our correcting Black history out there. It's going up and it's going to keep going up. So stay strong, Moors, and keep sticking to the principles and the Holy Covenant, and we will get out this. Islam to all Moors, and give thanks to the good brother, Asir the Duke of Tears. Islam.
Islam.